we are going to be finally clearing up the confusion around protein and how much you actually need to eat. I'm going to be giving you 3 very distinct scenarios. You're going to choose the best one for you, and now once and for all, you will know exactly how much protein you need to eat for your body. So the problem is this, it's just there's so much confusion. Everybody's telling you need to be eating this much per pound of body weight or whatever it is. It's just not true. There is never an all-for-one approach. Just want to repeat that. There is never an all-for-one approach. There are great marketing-based programs that market one particular thing, but if you understand bioindividuality and you understand specific goals based on the individual beyond just body transformation, which seems to be like the end-all be-all, we can start to look at the actual science behind this. So I'm going to dive right into it. I've done a lot of shows on protein before. I feel like this might be hopefully one of the final ones, but I'm going to link up those shows, all right? So if you've never heard about different evidence around eating meat versus plant-based proteins. If you've never heard about how meat is more of an anabolic food, again, I'm not saying good or bad. I'm just saying this is exactly what it does in the body. I want to link those up for you, all right? So those are going to be at stevencabral.com/2638. That's where all of the links will be, all of the takeaways for today's show. All right, so let's get right into it. As I was alluding to earlier, protein, not just, it could be plant-based proteins, it could be beans, it could be legumes, it could be dal, it could be mung beans, all these great things, chickpeas, they all count, right? But one of the reasons why they're more anabolic is they have a specific amino acid-based profile. And they have more amino acids. And plant-based proteins do not have the same level of branched-chain amino acids and methionine-based pathway, and it's just basically different amino acids, stronger amino acids in terms of rebuilding the body than meat does, right? So basically, if we're looking at anabolics, well, if we're taking milk out of the equation, we're looking at red meat as really being the most anabolic, and then after that, your poultry, and then after that, your fish, and eggs would actually come probably before fish for sure, and then your fish, and then you would have your plant-based proteins, and kind of like that's almost, it's not the hierarchy, but that's the anabolic nature of the body. And bodybuilders have known this forever. They've known it forever, thousands of years before they had all the science. And that is so that's the reason why when you look at a bodybuilder's diet, it contains a lot more meat. Same with a lot of athletes. They're able to rebuild their bodies faster with meat. That's just, again, I always bring you the unbiased perspective. That's the truth. It's more anabolic. There's more amino acids. There's amino acids that will repair all of the tissue in your body. And and believe it or not, again, they are stronger than plant-based proteins. Now, again, for better or for worse, I'm going to share some pros of plant-based proteins in just a moment. So again, I want to give you both angles. It's why, when people listen to the Cabral concept, they're like, wait, are you for this or are you for that? Are you for this or are you for that? No, I'm not for either. I'm for helping people to understand bioindividuality and what the actual truth is behind all of these numbers without trying to market to you one specific diet has to be best. Well, I'm going to give you the diet that's best based on your specific goals, all right? There's basically 2 main things that you need to understand is the more protein you eat, and we know meat is stronger, the more anabolic your body will be, the greater state of anabolism. So if you're someone that loses weight and loses muscle faster, well, meat is going to help you put on that muscle and build your body up to a greater degree. That's just the scientific truth of how it works, all right? So it's going to make your body bigger. I shouldn't say it's going to make it bigger. It's going to be able to build it larger if that is your goal. Or it's going to be able to repair the tissue faster if that is your goal. Doesn't mean you're going to bulk up. That's not what it means at all. Okay, it's much more anabolic. It's also harder to break down. So it's a more thermogenic-based food, and that is good for satiation and boosting the metabolism. There's no doubt about that. Okay, what other factors are is that it's going to increase your IGF-1. So that's your insulin growth factor 1, insulin-like growth factor, and basically growth hormone in the body. So again, that can help with, doesn't mean you're going to grow huge, but it does help with repairing hair, skin, nails, tissue, joints, everything, right? And It's going to increase mTOR. Why is mTOR important? Basically, that is what signals the body to be in more of a growth-based phase. That's all I want you to know about mTOR. I have other shows if you really want to get deep on mTOR, AMPK, what protein does, what fasting does. I'll link those up today, all right? So again, I'll just mention it right now, and then I won't keep alluding to the show. StephenCabral.com/2638. That's where all the notes will be. All right, so here's the thing. Protein increases mTOR and IGF-1. We'll talk about those when we start to get to longevity. What it doesn't do is allow for AMPK to increase and autophagy. Because protein, and you could say the same again for all calories, I'm not disagreeing with that. However, protein has a far greater degree on stopping autophagy and AMPK than other foods do. Now, again, you can make an argument that increasing processed carbs that spikes your blood sugar is going to stop AMPK as well, and I agree with that. There's no doubt about it, but we're talking about protein and how much you should be eating today. I've talked about the negatives of processed carbs in the past, but the difference is autophagy and AMPK and fasting and all of those things are more catabolic, right? So think of everything as the yin and yang or the balance of life. Protein pushes growth and fasting and lower protein pushes catabolism. That's breakdown of the body. All right, so I just want you to think about that, right? So there's a balance. Growth with protein, breakdown with less protein. All right, so let's look at it that way. So now, that's all that I want you to know about that. And the other last thing is that plant-based proteins are nowhere near anabolic, nowhere near as anabolic as meat-based proteins, flesh. So that's basically all your game meat, your red meat, organ meat, etc. You've got your poultry, you've got your fish, you've got your eggs, and you can include cheese and other things like that if you'd like in it, even though they're not as high in protein. So that's what you need to know. It doesn't mean that you can't build muscle and boost your metabolism if you are eating plant-based proteins. I work with many vegan-based athletes, and they can absolutely do that. They have to be more diligent, and they have to eat more protein. That's really it, because then they can still get the amino acid load that they want. Are they going to get that same boost in IGF-1 or mTOR? No, they're not. I mean, they're just not to the same level. That's why, to this day, there is not a top level, meaning like I know that there are vegan bodybuilders, but there's no Mr. Olympia that's vegan. And it's not as easy to get there. That's all. It's not that I don't think someone could even achieve that maybe, but it's nowhere near as simple or optimal to be able to say, hey, if I eat more red meat or eat more eggs, that they're going to be more anabolic, because they are. That's just the truth. All right, so now how much protein do you need? Well, there's 3 main goals. Right? Or let's just even break it down to 2 main goals, because this is the honest truth. So if you want to transform your body and you want to get in amazing shape, the best shape of your life, you want to get lean, you want to see all the muscle definition, I am not going to disagree. I've been doing this since the mid-90s with helping people transform their body. You're looking at the standard 1 gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight, right? So it's ideal body weight. You don't have to do it just by your body fat percentage. But if you're 200 pounds, you want to get to 180, well, 180 is your ideal body weight, so you can have 180 grams of protein per day. If you are 150 pounds and you want to get down to 130, okay, you're going to be eating 130 grams of protein per day. Let's just do a little math on that. Over 3 meals a day, then it's going to be, let's see here, it's going to be 43 grams of protein per meal over 3 meals. Or if you do 2 shakes and you do 2 meals, which a lot of people do in the world of body transformation, you're now going to be having 32.5 grams over 2 meals and 2 shakes, basically over 4 total meals. You can do it however you want. You can decide how you want to break up the protein. And that's going to be obviously a little bit easier to digest. Now, if you're 180 pounds, okay, now you're going to be eating 60 grams over 3 meals or 45 grams over 4 total meals. You can just call them feedings, whatever you'd like. So that's your goal. And now if you look at that, you say, okay, 130, let's just do quick math on this. It's 520 calories, right? So it's basically 4 calories per gram of protein. So when we look at that, we say, great, So now this person knows how much they're eating just in protein and protein-based calories per day, 520. Let's say this person's eating a 1,300 calorie diet. I'm just using 10 as a multiple, just as an example. They might be, of course, eating more. Well, you're looking at, I can't do the quick math off the top of my head, but it's probably somewhere around 40% of their diet is coming from protein alone. Well, let's actually just give you that. I'll only do it as one example. So we said it's 520 calories. Well, I just easy math. If I look at that as 650, yeah, we're looking at probably like 45% or so. So it's a lot of calories coming from protein, all right? But again, protein's very thermogenic. It burns a lot of calories upon consumption. It's high metabolic. It's also going to keep you satiated. It's why it works great for body transformation. And then you just add in your vegetables beside it and your healthy fat. And then if you want to add a little bit of starchy carbs, you can do that based on your tolerance to those starchy carbs. So body transformation, I am not arguing with anyone. 1 gram per pound of ideal body weight, simple, easy, achieve your body weight. But then at some point in your life, right? At some point in your life, and this goes for all of the health experts out there talking about, oh no, you should be eating this much. You have to understand that eating that much protein out of your total macros, right, is most likely not conducive to a long, healthy life, because it's basically the direct opposite of what every leading gerontologist has to say about aging, protein consumption, and amino acids. Like that's basically it. Because the goal is to lower IGF-1. It is to lower, or basically, lower mTOR. I mean, there's all sorts of drugs they're using now. And it's total protein in terms of how it affects the anabolism of the body. So we don't want growth, which could potentially lead to things like cancer and certain inflammations, et cetera. I'm not going to get deep into that today. But if you talk to the leading gerontologists, I literally just got back from a conference of all of the leading gerontologists, like literally like the leading scientists on anti-aging. Everyone, like there was not a single person who did not disagree that you should be keeping your total protein to less than 20% of your macros per day, probably somewhere between 10 and 15%. Now, if we look now at who are the longest lived populations, none of them ate that much protein. Zero. None of them at all. There has not been one. Again, and it's not that I'm willing to be proven wrong, because I'm not trying to be right. I'm just sharing with you what we do know. Maybe in 100 years or 50 years from now, we'll see something different, but we have never seen that. All of the blue zones, all of the longest lived people have low protein diets. And that means it's coming in sub 20% of their diet. Again, 10 to 15%. And it seems to be that those people who are getting more plant protein in rather than meat-based protein also don't have the same deleterious-based effects such as increased cancer risk, etc., because they don't increase IGF-1 to the same level. So let's look at longevity. We know that it needs to probably be 15% or less of your total caloric intake for the day, your total macros. And so if we look at that, then most people are going to want to look at somewhere around 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight, ideal body weight of protein. So the same 130-pound person, it goes from a 1-for-1 of 130 all the way down to 47 grams per day. So now they only need about 15 to 20 grams, about 15, 16 grams per meal over 3 meals. 180 person takes it down to 65 grams per meal. This is quite low. I'm not going to say that it's not. I've got one more group to talk about in just a moment. But also, we want it to be less than 10% animal-based proteins, probably less than 5, right around the 5 to 10%. And again, this is very well proven. You'll see most of the anti-aging doctors on more of a plant-based diet and certainly a lower protein diet, but it's detrimental in the fact that you're going to have less muscle. You are probably going to be lean. You're not going to be most likely as strong, and you are not going to be able to engage in athletics in the same way. So it's something to contemplate. But if your goal is to live to 100 plus years old, well, that is the blueprint, at least for right now, just to let you know that. So again, it's very different. Body transformation versus longevity. All right, there's one more camp that I currently fall into, And I call it, instead of the body or the longevity, right, protein plan, it's the compromise. So for me, I very much enjoy athletics, exercise, weightlifting. I'm not in the place where before I wanted to weigh 200 pounds and be, ripped and all those things. Now it's, I want to be lean. I want to be in good shape. That's it. And so that's how I look at it. So what I found, and for a lot of people who want the compromise, is you're going to include intermittent fasting. Okay, that's a big part of it. You might even do 1 day a week, which I have on other podcasts, but you're going to find your ideal body weight. And you're basically going to use, and I'm going to give you the exact calculation. You're going to use 20% of your macros, because that's the upper limit. We know that's the upper limit of essentially safe for protein intake for longevity and a lot of the health span issues. And if you use a multiple of 10 times your body weight, which I'm going to give a little caveat in a moment, that's about half your ideal body weight in protein per day. I'm going to tell you why it can be a little bit higher, because your calories can be higher. So really what you're looking for is 20% of your total calories, right? So if you eat 2,000 calories a day, what's 20%? 400 calories. All right, 400 divided by 4 calories per gram of protein, now you can eat 100 grams of protein per day. That's about where I am right now. I actually eat a little bit more calories than that, but I keep my protein at about 100 grams per day. It's anywhere between 90 and 100 grams per day. Am I losing out a little bit on the body transformation? Yes. Am I okay with that, with a compromise of hopefully being able to live an even longer, healthier life? Yeah, that's what I'm hoping, right? So it's a balancing act. But the 130-pound person, 20% of their calories, if they're using a 10 multiple, right, is 260, and that's 65 grams of protein per day. The 180-pound person, same multiples, they would be eating 90 grams of protein per day. So the more active the individual, if you are more of a Vata body type or ectomorph and you lose weight more easily than gain weight, lose muscle more easily, you could use a little bit more protein because your body's more catabolic. Remember, from the very beginning, it is always about balance. So if you're more catabolic, you can eat a little bit more protein. I just want you to keep in mind, everything is about bioindividuality, and it is about balancing your body. When you become too anabolic, for sure, then you lead to more of the potential atherosclerosis, you lead to more potential high blood pressure, cancer, even type 2 diabetes, all the things that we want to watch out for as we age. So my goal is to simply share with people the two camps. We've got the longevity camp, lower protein. The body transformation camp, higher protein. Could you find something in the middle that's probably a little bit safer for the long run and allows you the body transformation? I believe you can. I really believe you can. You can become a little bit, you can get into that hypocaloric just a little bit less. You can use your intermittent fasting. You can get in great shape and you can reap all of the benefits that we are learning about in terms of living to 100 and beyond. So if you want to learn more about this and how to really go in depth on this, check out the High Performance Health program. I would love for you to just figure out what it is, like how it's actually going to help you become a high performer in all areas of your life. But I also have tons of free podcasts on this, and everything will be linked up at stevencabral.com/2638. Hopefully this was helpful. Let me know if there's any comments. Of course, I'll do follow-up shows, and do feel free to share the show with anyone you believe it could serve. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything. Functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.